Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really cracking the code on what makes Western music, well, sound the way it does.
Yeah, we're diving into classical harmony, specifically that incredible language of tension and release that composers use for centuries.
Our mission really is to take these kind of technical things, figured bass, functional harmony, chromatic chords, and turn them into aha
Yep.
moments.
Exactly. So you can understand why music feels the way it does, whether it's Bach or, honestly, even a lot of modern pop.
Absolutely. Think of this as the sonic cheat sheet. We're looking mainly at the Baroque up to the late Romantic period.
Right. What music historians call the common practice style. It's the system, the grammar, that shows how chords connect and move.
It's not just naming chords, is it? It's about their jobs.
Precisely. Every chord has a function, and that function drives the story the music is telling.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Roman numerals, that's how we label chords based on where they sit in the scale, right?
That's the system. Uppercase for major chords, like I, V,
Hmm.
and lowercase for minor ones, 2, 3, 6.
And straight away, these numerals tell us about the chord's role.
They do. The whole common practice system really hangs on three main functional groups,
Yeah.
based on the primary triads, I, Vi, V, and V.
Okay, so what are those three big jobs?
Tonic, dominant, and subdominant. So the tonic, the I chord, that's your home base. It feels stable, resolved.
Right, where you land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's the dominant, the V chord. That's all about tension. Its main job is to pull you really strongly back towards the tonic.
Okay, tension wanting release.
Oh.
And the third one?
The subdominant, or 5V chord. Think of it as the setup chord. It often leads nicely to the dominant, or sometimes it can soften the move back to the tonic. Kind of prepares the way.
So in a standard major key, I, Phi, and V are major, and the others 2, 3 are minor.
That's the typical setup, yeah. And the 7 chord, that one's diminished,
Yeah.
even more unstable.
Right, and that gives major keys their characteristic sound. What happens in minor keys, though? The sources mention something specific about the V chord.
Ah, yes. So naturally, a minor key would have minor I4 and V chords. But, and this is crucial, composers almost always use a major V chord, especially at cadences, at the end of phrases.
Wait, why force a major chord in a minor key? Isn't that breaking the scale rules?
Well, yes and no. It's about function overriding the natural scale. You see, to get that powerful dominant pull back to the tonic, you need the leading note.
The raised seventh degree of the scale.
Exactly. If you use the natural minor V chord, it lacks that crucial note, and the resolution feels, well, weak. Making V major gives you the tension you need for a satisfying cadence.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Function is king. So if I, 4, and V are the main players, what about the other chords, 2, 3, 6, 7? Are they just there?
Not at all. They act as substitutes. They can step in for the primary chords, giving composers more colors, more vocabulary, while keeping the overall harmonic direction clear.
Okay, so who substitutes for whom?
Well, the V chord is probably the most common substitute. It stands in for the tonic. They share 2 notes, so it feels kind of like home, but maybe a bit
Ah!
unsettled.
Is that why V going to V feels like a surprise? The interrupted cadence?
Precisely. Your ear expects VI, home base, but gets VV instead. It keeps the energy going. And you hear IV all over pop music for that reason.
Right, and that chord.
That substitutes for the subdominant. 4. They're often used interchangeably or even right next to each other, like 4V then 2, softening that predominant feel.
And 7, the diminished one.
That's a stand-in for the dominant. Think of it like a V7 chord, but without the root note. It's weaker, but still points strongly towards the tonic.
Okay, what about the 3 chord? The sources said it was ambiguous, substituting for I or V. How can it do both?
Yeah, it's a bit of a chameleon in major keys,
Yeah.
but its role gets much clearer, or rather weaker, in a minor key. The 3rd chord in minor, which is major, remember, it completely loses its ability to act like a dominant.
Hold on, why can't the 3rd chord in minor create that dominant tension, like the major V chord does?
Because it doesn't have that crucial leading note. The raised 7th degree isn't in the 3rd chord. So instead of pulling strongly to the tonic, it tends to drift, maybe towards the 6th chord, or sometimes it hints at another key briefly. It's more of a wanderer.
Okay, so if functional harmony is about the job of each chord, then cadences are like the punctuation marks, right? Defining the phrases.
Absolutely. Chords need to move somewhere, and cadences signal the pauses, the endings, the commas, and periods of music. And they work pretty much the same in major or minor.
Let's quickly run through the main 4. What's their sort of emotional flavor?
Okay. First, the perfect cadence, that's VI, or sometimes VI. This is your full stop, period. Maximum tension resolving to maximum stability. Feels final.
Got it. Done.
Then the plagal cadence, that's IVI. People call it the Amen cadence. It's much gentler than VI. Still resolution, but feels more like a peaceful sigh.
Nice. And the opposite. Unfinished.
That's the imperfect cadence. It ends on V, the tension chord. So, any chord moving to V, because it lands on tension, it sounds incomplete, like a question mark asking what's next.
Makes sense. And the last one, the plot twist.
The interrupted cadence. This is usually V going to anything but I. Most often, it's VV. Your ear is all set for that VI resolution, and boom, the composer throws you a curveball, usually to keep the phrase going. Surprise.
Amazing how much storytelling is in just two chords, and the sources mention a kind of harmonic rule of the road, something about V not going to IV.
Yeah, generally in this style, you avoid moving from a root position dominant type chord directly to a root position subdominant type chord. The expected flow is more like I to IV, IV sets up V, V resolves to I. Going V to IV kind of breaks that tension cycle.
Right. Now let's get a bit historical and technical. Figured bass. This was the Baroque shorthand, wasn't it? Numbers under a bass line.
It was. Imagine trying to write out every single note for the harpsichord player in a trio sonata. Figured bass was faster. The numbers, usually 2 to 9, told the player which intervals to play above the written bass note.
So a number 6/5 didn't just mean add a sixth?
No, 6/4 was the code for a first inversion chord, meaning the third of the chord is in the bass, and you add the sixth and third above that. It implied the full 63 inversion. If you saw 64, that meant second inversion, and just a sharp or flat sign under the bass.
Affixed the bass note.
Nope. It always referred to the third of the implied chord above the bass. Clever shortcut, huh?
Definitely. And this system also helped manage dissonance, right? Those clashing notes.
Very much so. In common practice style, dissonances weren't just thrown in randomly. They usually had to be prepared, meaning the dissonant note was already present as a harmony note in the chord before and then resolved, meaning it moves smoothly, usually by step down, into a consonant note in the next chord.
Controlled clashes. But there's a big exception.
The big one. V7 chord, the dominant seventh. That seventh, the dissonant part, needs no preparation at all. Its function is so strong, so essential for driving to the tonic, that the dissonance is just accepted. It only needs to resolve downwards.
The powerhouse chord gets a pass.
Pretty much. And this is where we also get things like suspensions, like a 4 resolving to a 3 over the bass, a note held over, creating temporary dissonance before resolving, kind of the ancestor of the modern sus4 chord.
Okay, and then there are notes that aren't even really part of the chord, the decorations.
Exactly. Non-harmonic notes or non-chord tones. They add color and smoothness, but don't change the chord's basic function.
Like grace notes?
Sort of. Think of passing notes. They step smoothly between two different chord tones. Or auxiliary notes, sometimes called neighbor notes. They decorate a single chord tone by stepping away and right back again, like decorating C with D, then back to C.
Okay, stepwise movement. Any dramatic ones?
Oh, yes. The appoggiatura. This one's often approached by a leap, lands on the beat, creating a clash, and then resolves by step, usually downwards. It's often quite expressive, maybe a bit poignant because of that accented dissonance.
So putting this together, there's that I-64 paradox thing. Looks like a stable tonic chord, but isn't.
Right. This is a classic. You often see what looks like an I chord in second inversion, that's the 64 part right before the V chord, at a cadence. But functionally, it's not acting like a tonic at all.
So what is it doing?
Those 16/8/4 notes above the bass are actually behaving like non-harmonic tones. They're really decorating the dominant harmony. They resolve downwards. The 6 goes to 5, the 4 goes to 3 over the V chord's bass note. It's like a double suspension, intensifying the arrival on the true V chord. Function trumps appearance.
Okay, now we're moving beyond the basic scale notes, adding some spice with chromatic chords, the ones that add drama but don't totally break the key.
Exactly. These are powerful coloring tools. Let's start with the Neapolitan sixth, often just called the Neapolitan or written as BII. It's a major chord built on the flattened second degree of the scale.
Flattened second. So in C minor, that would be a D flat major chord.
Precisely. And it almost always appears in first inversion, hence the sixth in the name. It sounds quite dark, maybe mournful. Its function, it acts like a subdominant moving straight to V.
Why Neapolitan? From Naples.
Yeah, got associated with composers working in Naples in the 18th century, particularly in opera. They loved its dramatic color.
Cool. Okay, next up, the really intense one, the diminished seventh.
Oh yeah, this is built by stacking minor thirds. Creates this incredibly tense, unstable sound. Its job is pure dominant function. It's like a supercharged, extra dramatic V7 chord. It desperately wants to resolve, usually straight to the tonic. high drama sound.
Got it. And finally, those complicated ones. The augmented sixth chords, Italian, French, German.
Right. These are all subdominant function chords as well. They prepare the arrival of the dominant V chord. They get their unique sound by altering notes within a I or IV chord chromatically. The sources mention Beethoven using an Italian sixth in his Fifth Symphony for huge impact before the V.
Okay, the German sixth. You said that one's tricky. It sounds like something else.
This is where harmony gets wonderfully messy. The German augmented sixth chord sounds exactly the same as a dominant seventh chord. They're inharmonically identical, same pitches, different spellings, and different functions.
Whoa. So if I hear that sound, my ear might think it's a V7 wanting to go to a new tonic.
Precisely. But the composer can resolve it like a German sixth should resolve, which is usually to the dominant V of the current key, often via that I64 we talked about.
So it's a harmonic pun almost.
You could say that.
Oh.
It makes the German sixth an amazing pivot chord. A composer can write it, make you expect the V7 resolution to somewhere new, but then resolve it as a German sixth to trick you and potentially modulate smoothly to a really unexpected remote key. It's all about playing with expectation.
Okay, beyond just chords, composers use bigger techniques, like secondary dominance and tonicization. How does that work?
This is about adding intensity. You can take almost any major or minor chord in your key and just for a moment, treat it as if it were the tonic
How do you do that?
by preceding it with its own dominant chord. So say you're in C major and you want to make the I chord D minor feel stronger for a second. You'd precede it with A major, which is the dominant V of D minor. We call that V of I.
So you're borrowing the dominant from the key of D minor just for a beat or two.
Exactly. You tonicize the D minor chord. It gives it a temporary little gravitational pull, makes the harmony richer, denser. If you keep doing it for longer, it can actually lead to a full key change of modulation.
Cool. So it intensifies things locally. And the other technique, the pedal point, sounds like something on a bike.
Yeah, maybe it feels like it sometimes. A pedal point is when one note, usually in the bass, is held or repeated for a long time, while harmonies above it keep changing.
So the bass stays put, but the chords shift over it. What's the effect?
It's kind of paradoxical. You hear the chord progressions happening above, but that sustained bass note anchors everything. It makes the overall harmony feel really static, grounded, even while there's movement on top.
So it creates tension against the static note.
Often, yes, especially if the chords above clash with the pedal note. But it also provides this immense stability. You hear it a lot at the end of pieces, like a long tonic pedal under the final chords. Bach loved doing that in his fugues.
And the sources mention pop examples too.
Yeah, like the long sustained note in Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight, or even parts of Elton John's Your Song. It's a timeless technique for creating suspension, expectation, or just a solid foundation, usually on the tonic of the dominant note. Hashtag tag tag outro.
Wow. Okay. That was quite the journey. We went from the basic IIVV building blocks all the way to chromatic substitutions and these big structural things like pedals.
Yeah, from Roman numerals and basic functions through cadences, figured bass shortcuts, all the way to chromatic color and techniques like tonicization.
It really shows these aren't just dry academic rules. They're the actual blueprint for how music creates movement and feeling.
Absolutely. The core idea is always that language of tension and release. Tonic, dominant, subdominant, those relationships define the narrative, even when they're disguised with substitutions or chromatic spice.
So, final thought then. If we know that the German sixth and the dominant seventh can sound identical, but functionally they pull in completely opposite directions, one towards a new dominant area, the other resolving home. What does that tell you maybe about the power of expectation and redirection in storytelling generally, not just music?
Something to listen for, definitely. How composers, and maybe writers too, play with what you think is coming next.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.